Hello, everyone. Welcome back for another episode of The Loyal Lawyer within our series that we're still staying in, Accident Claim Central. We seem to stay in this series a lot.
Yes.
But there's just a lot to cover.
There is a lot to cover. You know, the type of claims and the type of damages, that's a big part of what we do.
It is. And today we are going to be covering the topic diminished value, which I learned about this topic because I had my very own car accident case. It was not my fault, for everyone wondering. I was T-boned. I didn't know diminished value was a thing. My precious dad handled my case for me. And next thing I know, he was like, hey, you also have a diminished value case. There's this certain amount of money, it's going to go into your bank account. And I was like, well, happy day. Okay, right. I love it. So it's kind of like a little bonus that a lot of people don't know about, but it's a part of is it a part of every case? Every car accident case?
Well, every car accident, and to some extent. I mean, there are times if a car, and I guess if the car is really, really old and has a lot of miles, then it's going to be a much smaller thing.
Yes.
But basically, what you're recovering for is the loss in value in a car. So a car gets wrecked, and the insurance company's going to pay for the repairs, and you get your car back, and it looks great. But when you take that car and you try to sell it or you trade it in, they're going to pull that Carfax report.
Yes.
And it's going to say, oh, it's had an accident.
It's been an accident.
We're going to have to pay you thousands less.
Yep.
So that loss in the value of the car based on it having been involved in an accident, even though it's repaired right, it still loses a lot of money.
Which is why it's called diminished value.
That's it, which is why you have this beautiful graphic there.
Values down.
Value going down. It never is going to go up having been involved in an accident.
It's only going to go down.
And multiple accidents make it even worse. So,
exactly.
But that's the topic of today.
Okay, let's jump right into it. So we pretty much already defined diminished value.
Yes.
When I'll recap, since I'm learning so much, when the value of your car goes down when you go to sell it.
Yeah.
So you're getting that money kind of within your bank account to make up for that.
Correct.
In the future.
And if you think about it, if you don't recover it, you probably won't notice it right at the time
until
where
you
your car
sell
came
it.
back, but then months or years later when you sell your car, you're like,
that's...
oh, shoot. They're not giving me as much as I
And it has to be within 2 years, doesn't it?
Well, let's see. Diminished value would be a 4-year statute of limitations.
Oh, so say...
property damage has 4 years.
Say you're selling that car 3 years later.
And you realize it's a smaller amount.
But would you have to do it before you sell the car?
You would need to do it before you sell the car,
But say you're about to sell it, and they offer you money, and you're like, pause.
Yes.
Call attorney Richard Griffin.
Yes.
Call up a loyal lawyer.
Loyal lawyer will take care
Save
of
the day.
Yes.
But you got to do it in 4 years.
Yes.
Say you've already handled the rest of the legal stuff, but not diminished value, but you've already settled the rest. Can you still come back for diminished value?
You probably can't, because when you settle a personal injury case, it's going to be a general release. And a general release says I'm releasing the insurance company and the negligent driver for any and all claims, basically, that arose from it.
Okay.
So you want to resolve your diminished value before you settle your personal injury case.
Which is why it's so important to hire a lawyer, because I really don't think anyone would know about this.
No.
And a lot of inexperienced attorneys probably don't know about it.
They don't. And
so
a lot of attorneys
don't.
They think it's not enough to worry about. They don't handle it.
But it is. I'm telling you, the money that came into my bank account was enough for me to worry about.
Yes. Thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
You know, the most I was ever able to get for a diminished value claim for my client was $25,000.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a Porsche, a brand new Porsche.
Okay.
Luxury cars are the more expensive the car is, the greater the loss in value. Let's say that it's going to lose 5% of its value or 10% of its value. Well, if it's a $100,000 car, that's $10,000, instead of if it's a $5,000 car.
Yeah.
It'd be $500. Exactly. So I'm not saying that that's the formula, but if it lost that percentage, and basically, if you think about it, it is going to be what the market's going to do.
Right.
That makes sense. If it's a luxury car, then the buyers of luxury cars that are spending that much money are going to be much pickier than if you're just trying to get a reliable car for as cheap as, you may pick the car that is in a wreck because you can save a little bit of money on the purchase of it.
Exactly.
And when you're buying a used car, I definitely recommend that you do get the Carfax report, or at least have the dealership show you that, because most of them will. And if it's got an accident, then you probably don't want to buy it, or you want to get a good deal for it. You also want to make sure it doesn't have a junk title. If we're going to get off topic a little bit, you want to make sure it's not a lemon law, recall, where they bought it back. And there are dealerships. They're usually that kind of second or third tier dealership where they may have most of the cars on the lot are involved in accidents and or lemon law, where the manufacturer had to buy the car back because it had so many problems in the first year.
Yep. Okay, now how can you get paid for the diminished value?
So it is something that once in a blue moon, the insurance adjuster, when they're resolving the property damage, let's say that the car is being fixed and the insurance company pays for the repairs, they pay for your rental while your car is being repaired, and then they go, hey, there's something called diminished value. We think it's about $100, maybe $250. We're going to give you $250. So,
and they act like,
and we're going to mail it out to you, and they just act like it's just another little thing, and then you sign it, and sometimes it'll say, settlement of the diminished value, full and final, and you sign it and cash it, and you've settled your case. Usually, if you think about it, insurance companies are trained to save money at your expense, so they're going to always be trying to pay as little as they can. So if they're going to pay as little as they can and they're in complete control, you don't even know that it's a diminished value claim, and they're bringing it up. Oh, by the way, here's some unfound money. Here's a couple $100. You're like, oh, that's great. Yay. What you didn't realize is that couple hundred is probably need to add a zero. You probably needs to be a couple thousand, rather than a couple hundred. And they don't just give it to you. You're going to have to hire an attorney typically.
Yeah.
And I know you're going to ask me some questions, so we won't jump into it. But when we get there, we'll talk about exactly the strategies I use.
Yeah, you can't steal my thunder.
I don't want to do it.
Don't steal my thunder.
I'm letting you, you're driving the ship. So.
Yeah, you're going to have to fire me soon. Okay, which insurance company should pay for the diminished value?
That's a good question.
There we see. This is why I get paid the big bucks.
Big bucks. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and being my daughter, you get paid, a lot for your tuitions and all that. It's all included. Yeah, exactly.
It's like an all-inclusive resort.
Potato, that's the way I look at it. But so there's two insurance companies that might pay your diminished value.
Yes.
And you can pick the one you want to use. Yes. Typically, whichever one is paying for the property damage repairs and the rental, it usually is best to stay with that one. You don't want to try to jump ship and ship it, try to recover. It's usually best to do everything with one, and then they'll get indemnified against the other.
Okay.
So the two insurance companies that would potentially cover it, first of all, is the liability carrier, which liability means the one that was at fault.
Yes. So
the negligent driver's insurance coverage, the liability coverage policy, is going to be the one that you really want to start with. Now, that you always want to start there, but if it's a situation where they're investigating the accident, they'll say that, and they're saying, we're trying to make sure that there's coverage because, that premium wasn't paid on time, and we canceled it, and we want to make sure if the cancellation occurred before the accident, we're not covering it, or that's a coverage, or maybe that driver wasn't on the policy. We got to make sure that he or she had permission to drive the car. So the coverage is one investigation they may have. Did the policy cover the loss? The second thing would be we want to investigate the accident to see if the person who was injured and has their car damaged in it, maybe they were partially at fault, or maybe they were completely at fault. So there's liability. Are we responsible for it? And there's coverage. Does our policy cover the claim?
Okay.
So anytime they're saying we're investigating those two things, sometimes they're resolved very quickly, and then great, run everything through the liability carrier, the negligent driver's insurance company. But there are some times when it's best to take it to your own. Now, you're going to pay a deductible when the car's fixed, and you may or may not get rental because your carrier won't pay for rental unless you have a rental car coverage that you paid for beforehand.
Okay.
If you don't have that, you can still get a rental car, keep your receipts, and then that can be a claim against the liability once the liability carrier, the negligent driver's insurance, picks up the claim and says, okay, we cover it and we agree that we're liable.
Okay.
But those are your two choices. So I would say always try to use the negligent driver's insurance first, and if there's some hiccup in we're investigating it, then run it for your own. Okay. And you do get your deductible back. When they get repaid, they get you repaid from the negligent driver's insurance coverage.
Yes.
As long as liability is proven.
Okay, perfect. And last but not least, a short little episode.
Yes.
What are some examples of diminished value claims that you have won?
Yes. Well, there's the Porsche with $25,000. There's
Yes.
a Tesla for $5,600.
Okay.
There's yours. It was probably $2,500.
It was $2,500. Take away a zero.
My brother, your uncle, he had an accident, and I said, well, after they do the repairs, ask them for diminished value, and then call me, and don't take it. I said, don't take it, because I just want to show you.
You don't trust these people.
I just want to show you how it works. And he's
Yeah.
like, okay. So they offered him $250, and then I ordered my strategy, and I think that was something we were going to talk about, but we'll talk about right now. In that case, and in all cases,
Let's do it.
I get the final bill from the property damage body shop. Everything that was done. What parts were replaced, what the labor expenses were, and then I have the best diminished value appraiser review that and create a diminished value appraisal report, which is going to show how much money the loss was. Now, how is that calculated? It's calculated on proving what that car was worth before the accident.
And then after.
So what year, what make, what model, if you were going to replace that car right then, right there, what would it take? And then after the accident, okay, now if you take that same car that we've established the pre-accident value, now take it to the dealership and trade it in, how many thousands are you going to lose? And so they subtract those two numbers and they give you incredible data in proving that loss. Proving the comps and, perhaps Black Book, Blue Book, Kelly Blue Book value. They do everything to prove the value before the accident, which is you've got to do that to be able to prove what the loss is, and then the amount that you would have lost. And certainly the factors that go into it, usually sometimes on the pre-value of the car, it's going to be they pick really low comps. They pick cars with way more mileage than yours or less features or maybe even the wrong year. And we're trying to find, our diminished value expert's going to find same make, same model, same mileage, same condition in your area. All those things make it a much more accurate.
Okay.
And so then I send a demand. And in the demand I send, I was going to glance at it. OCGA 33328A.
There we go.
Basically, that puts them on notice that if we recover what we're demanding, and it turns out that they should have, if they'd adjusted that claim fairly, they should have paid that demand, then the penalty can be 50% of the claim or $5,000, whichever is greater, and assessed attorney's fees. So if I try a case, my hourly rate times the number of hours it took to prepare and try that case, that could be a lot more than this DV claim anyway. So that gives me a weapon. They know I can litigate. They know I've got that expert ready to go with a report that's in their hands. So they better pay it. If they don't, then it's going to get a lot worse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, now, do you need to hire a diminished value attorney to get the best settlement, or can you just handle it yourself?
You really can't do what I just described. I told you what to do.
I didn't even know what was going on.
If you don't go to law school, you don't know the value of the case, you don't know how to litigate, you can't file. You can file a lawsuit pro se and stumble around the courtroom and mess up, but that's not going to work well. It's way, way better. When you're talking about adding a zero or two to the offer, it's
not as easy as it sounds.
And if you get an offer of $200-300 and I can turn it into $5,000 or $6,000, even if you pay a third of that, let's say that $600 turns to $6,000. Well, the attorney fee's a third, so that'd be $2,000. So you're getting $4,000. And if you didn't have an attorney trying to handle it yourself, in that hypothetical, they're offering you $600. So you didn't pay an attorney fee, but you didn't get as much when the dust settled. So paying an attorney fee is well worth it when it means you're going to recover a lot more from the insurance company. Insurance companies are in the business of settling cases for as little as they can. They're for-profit business, so they want to take in premiums. They want to pay out claims as little as they can and make as much money as they can. And every dollar that they can save by paying you less means that they make a bigger profit. And they get bonuses. Adjusters get paid bonuses for settling cases efficiently and for as little as possible.
Exactly.
Versus, that's why when people go, well, I just want to wait and see what the adjuster says, maybe they'll do the right thing.
No.
Well, the right thing for the adjuster is to do what's in the best interest of
Their employer.
Their employer is the insurance company. So, they're going to do what's in the best interest of their employer every time instead of, they're not a charity, so they're not trying to do your job. Your job is to hire a great attorney to make sure you get the right amount. That's your job. The insurance company, it's not their job to do that. So they hope you won't get an attorney, and they hope you'll take their pennies on the dollar offer. Those lowball offers make huge profits for the insurance company.
Exactly.
But the sad thing is that is at your expense. So when you do trade that car in, you're like, oh gosh, they paid me $200, but I lost $5,000 when I traded the car in. Can't go back. It's already over at that point.
Exactly.
So just make sure you get a great diminished value attorney. In a personal injury matter, get a great personal injury attorney. In a wrongful death matter, get that great wrongful death attorney, because they are well worth it. What you pay in that attorney fee is going to be one of the best investments that you make, because you're going to net a lot more money. They did a study, the insurance companies paid for the study, and in that study they wanted to just see, well, let's compare people that try to deal with these kind of claims themselves. They're injured, they had a personal injury claim, they said, I'm not going to pay that attorney, I'm going to do it myself. Now, how does that compare to the people who hire an attorney and they pay an attorney fee? Well, what money? Who ends up with more money? The study from the insurance company's own study. They paid for it. The person after paying the attorney still had over 3.5 times more money.
Wow.
Than the person who saved money by doing it themselves.
That's crazy.
So, I tell people, you don't try to do your own surgery. That doctor's well worth it.
Exactly.
You don't really want to build your own house unless you know what you're doing.
Exactly.
You might just try to build a deck,
example.
and then the deck falls down and you've wasted all that material. Maybe somebody gets hurt. It can, you just don't want to do it. Just get the professionals involved, and great things result. But you do it yourself without being an attorney, the deck is stacked against you. So we know what's going to happen. They have all the cards. You don't know the value case. You don't know how to litigate. So you are begging for them to give you more money. And insurance companies are not a charity, so they're going to give you less money, save money at your expense. Their bottom line looks great, but your bottom line looks terrible.
Yeah, that's a great example.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've pretty much covered what diminished value is. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of The Loyal Lawyer within our series, Accident Claims Central, where we dove into diminished value and just kind of defined it, talked through all the terms of it. So hopefully, God forbid, but if you're ever in an accident or a loved one is in an accident, you know exactly what it is, and you can hire Attorney Richard Griffin, the Loyal Lawyer, to come in and help you get the correct and fair settlement for you.
That's right.
Yep. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you will be back soon.